Today we're going to go through how you can run JavaScript code in make.com. Now, before we get into the step-by-step on how you actually do this, let's talk about why you would want to do something like this. So make.com is a no-code workflow automation platform that lets you connect lots of different software platforms together. But like all no-code or low-code platforms, there are edge cases or situations that are hard to handle in these no-code platforms. In those situations, you might think to yourself, if only I had access to code, I could solve this problem a lot easier. So examples of those include situations where you might have a block of text that you need to parse into a different format, or you're looking for how many times a certain word appears in a certain piece of text, or you need to do some sort of mathematical calculation or something like that, where those things tend to be quite easy to do in code, but may not be as easy to do in your no-code platform choice. To solve this, a lot of no-code platforms will actually give you the ability to run code, whether that's JavaScript or Python or some other language. But unfortunately, make.com does not have that functionality built in. So you will need to use third-party modules to run JavaScript or Python. So today we'll be talking about how you can use the Dumpling AI module to run JavaScript code within make.com. So I'm going to start from scratch and I'm going to delete what I have here. To run JavaScript code, what we're going to need to do is find the Dumpling AI module. So if we search Dumpling AI, once we click into it, we can search for JavaScript to find the Run JavaScript Code module. There is also a Run Python code module if you are more familiar with Python, but for this video, we'll be focused on JavaScript. So we'll click this and it'll open up. We can select the connection of choice. And you can see that there are two inputs. There's commands, which will let you install NPM packages, which means that you get access to the millions of different packages on NPM. And then down here, there is the code section, which is the code that will run. After you run the code, you'll get access to anything that is console logged. So just keep that in mind as we proceed with this. Now down here, there is a Parse JSON option. So what this will do is attempt to parse any JSON output in the logs. By default, it's set to no. But if you are, for example, console logging a JSON object, then you can use Parse JSON to turn that into something that you can use directly in make.com. So to start with, let's just run this command first, this code first, to see if it works. So we're just console logging hello world classic test to see if it works. So run this and you can see here in the logs in the standard out, there is a hello world, which means that is working as intended. Now, when you're using JavaScript in make.com, chances are you're not just using it to write hello world. There are other ways to do that in make.com. Chances are you're actually using it to process some data or something, do something that is not so easy to do in make.com. So let's run through an example, right? So let's say I have a piece of text input and I want to count the number of times a certain word appears in that piece of text. So it's pretty easy to write a JavaScript snippet or script that will do that for me. But these days, I often will go to ChatGPT to get it to write JavaScript snippets for me. So I can just do something like write a snippet, JavaScript snippet that counts the number of times that dumpling appears in a paragraph. So this should take like a paragraph text input, count the number of times that Dumpling AI appears, and then output the count. And having a quick look at this, that looks to be right. So I'm just going to copy the code here, come over here and just replace the code, press OK, and then press run. Now, I'm expecting an error here actually, because I've actually found out that sometimes when you copy code into make.com, they insert a zero width space character, which creates lots of problems. So if you get that error, make sure you just delete that last character, which is creating the problems, press OK, and if we run it again, it should work this time. So you can see it succeeded. Let's have a look at the output. And it says the word dumpling appears 3 times. And if we look in the code, the paragraph is dumpling is delicious. I love eating dumpling and trying dumpling recipes. So yes, it appears 3 times. So this is all well and good, but chances are if you're doing this in a make.com automation, you don't want the inputs to be hard-coded, right? You're probably getting the paragraph from somewhere else, whether that's Google Sheets or Airtable, or you're pulling it from some other system and then processing it to count how often a word appears. So let's try to replicate that in our build now. So what I'm going to do is, instead of pulling from Google Sheets, I'm just going to use the set variable module to pretend that I've pulled this paragraph variable from another system. So I'm going to call my variable paragraph, and I'm just going to call it, I will not mention dumpling. So if I run it through my script now, it should say that dumpling was mentioned 0 times. So we have this variable, we need to pass it into our script. So what I'm going to do here is come down here and just replace this dumpling, this paragraph, with the paragraph variable, right? Just sub that in directly. So I press OK now, and then I run this once. We should be passing this string directly into here. And if I look at the output, it should say the word dumpling appears 1 time. So let's have a quick look. Oh, I will not mention dumpling. Sorry, it still appears 1 time because dumpling is actually mentioned once. Cool. Now let's go through some other things. So I mentioned earlier you can install npm packages, right? So let's give that a go. So you can see here I've got a I'd say pretty popular npm package open, and it's called the calsay package. And what this package lets you do is basically, instead of console logging normally, you can console log with a cal that says the message. So all I need to do is copy this npm install message, come back here, paste it into the commands, and then I just need to update my code to use the calsay package. So I'm just going to say, come back to ChatGPT and say console log with the calsay package. And ChatGPT should update it for me. So it's telling me to install, which we've put into our command, and it's imported the package, which is what we want. And it's done this as well. Cool. So let's press copy and update our code. Remember, we'll need to replace the paragraph again, so you don't forget. So let's replace that paragraph again. That's looking good to me. So let's press OK, and let's see if that works. So we're installing the calsay package, and then we're running it. So there is an error. Let's have a quick look at what it's saying. Oh. Exit status 1. Let's have a look. Again, remember, when we're copying and pasting from ChatGPT, sometimes there is a no space character at the bottom, so just delete that last line, and usually that resolves the issue. So let's run that one more time. Let's see, what does it say? Exit status 1. Let's have a look. Let's just copy this error across into ChatGPT. Copy this all over again, make sure we've got everything correct. So that's looking good. And then, okay, we can do this. This is a simpler test. So just remove all this other stuff. We're still importing the package and getting it to console log. And let's just press OK, and let's run this. So it looks like it works now. So there was probably something wrong in the JavaScript code that generated. Regardless, not the focus of this tutorial, so no point debugging it. But if we come into our logs now, you'll see the standard out. We've got this cow logging hello world, which just shows that the npm install has worked, and we now have the calsay package. Awesome. So one final thing before we wrap up is to show you what this parse JSON thing does, right? And what the parse JSON does, again, is, like I said, if you're console logging an object, then you can parse it directly to then use that object in your make.com automation. So if I quickly just type in some JavaScript, right? So I'll say key, value, and then test 1, 2, 3. So what I can do is JSON.stringify this object and log it. And if I've turned this parse JSON to on, I should get those two JSON key outputs directly as variables in make.com that I can use directly. So If I come here now and I look at the output, you'll see that I have key, value, and test as 1, 2, 3. Just means I can use it directly. If you don't want to use Parse JSON, you can always do it manually in make.com and just use like a Parse JSON module here and do it manually in make.com. We've just built it into the module natively just so it's a bit handier for you. You can save an operation in your make.com automation. Cool. That's basically it for how you can run JavaScript code in make.com. As I said at the beginning, usually you don't need to use this. If there's another way to do it in make.com, I would generally recommend that. This is just something that you can have in your back pocket as a backup for when something you want to do is not possible in make.com. We also do have a run Python code module if Python is more your speed, but you have that option there. If you have any thoughts, questions, or comments, feel free to leave a comment below. But with that, I will see you in my next video.